Hello and welcome to this video presentation on talent management by Jack Bourne, Tim O'Dowd, Rachel Tang and Saya Wang. Throughout the course of this video presentation, we will discuss the knowledge and practice system of talent management, the concept of talent management being a global initiative, followed by a discussion of Tansley and Tietze's work, all of which will be illustrated with personal experiences of group members to form a conclusion based on the three questions below, where, through the accomplishment of self-realization, all do have the ability to be talent, but what this talent actually is remains the key point to consider. Talent management relates to the brink of a new cycle in your life, where employers are viewing individuals as potential future talent. Talent management is a fairly recent phenomenon, but given the use of the discourse of talent in job advertisements, it is therefore a contemporary issue. The war for talent, McKinsey illustrates, is the way in which organisations are in direct competition with each other to win talented recruits. This notion demonstrates the way in which global talent becomes a question of lifestyle, not only in terms of relocation, but also the way in which employers are seeking talented individuals. Whether this is a process that applies to legitimately talented individuals, or if it is just a way to explain high cost, high value. Despite criticisms from FEFA of talent management being hazardous to an organisation's health, the competition for a talented individual is eminent. However, when considering talent, the way in which talent is identified becomes important. Whether talent regards an individual with a particular set of attributes, or as an individual who is mouldable, is difficult to establish, in particular when talent is subjective to an organisation or profession. Through the enterprise culture, the orientation of talent identification is explained, where the exploration of talent pools identifies entrepreneurial attributes that are shared amongst like-minded individuals. Given the requirements of job applications, the nature of the recruitment process already moulds the type of individual you have to be to fit in with a particular organisation, and you find yourself almost overthinking answers to establish what you think the organisation is looking for. Crucially, whether talent is in fact obtainable or not is a key criticism of the talent management discourse, as organisations have a very narrow definition of talent, and who's to say people want to be regarded as talent at all? With this point in mind, the increasing interest in talent and talent management is escalated since the turn of the century. According to the CIPD, talent management focuses more on identification issues compared to that of the human resource development discourse, as talent management reaches deep into a person's identity, and once you have been identified and defined as talent, you want to maintain that. Despite the increasing interest in the notion of talent management, there is still no agreed definition of what talent management actually is, as is represented in the contentions of whether talent management is a new global initiative or not. It is suggested by Eels and Priest that talent management is simply an extension of human resource management, where, through an integrated form of human resource development, the focus of talent management is based on sourcing the right people for the job. Tansley and Tietze do argue the depth that is offered within talent management, where individuals are no longer seen as a human resource, but instead become special, which represents an emotive element to the discourse. Some questions for thought include, what are the consequences of being labelled as talent in relation to identity in particular, and whether talented staff can make ethical decisions? Is it possible to distance yourself from corporate values? These are some examples of questions that aren't being answered, but it is clear that there is a focus within the talent management discourse on emotiveness, the idea of we want your body and soul rather than just your labour and you as a resource. This is something that I have personally encountered as part of working for the Merlin Entertainments Group. Due to the nature of the industry, it requires the full embodiment of company values to reflect the Merlin way of both seeing the world and reflecting that into society. Personally, I feel that it is equally important to align yourself with the organisation's objectives as it is to develop high levels of skill in your role, as this creates a level playing field in which all have the capacity to appear as talent based solely on their performance. My employment is on a part-time basis, and the way in which talent management applies to temporary work is interesting, as this deals with aspects of being flexible in terms of availability to work, but also in terms of a commitment and loyalty that apply to the classification of talent. When reviewing this point and thinking cynically about talent management, is it not just a vicious cycle, where, for example, as a supervisor, I operate in a way that exemplifies my talent to make myself look good and appealing to my senior managers. So, I often get my staff to perform duties in a particular way that I endorse. Yet the point at which individuals feel threatened by subordinates as potential talent is one which may restrict the development of future rising talent. A race and drive for talent, as it were.
In terms of talent management in a global perspective, is talent management important to organizations, and one of the biggest challenges for talent management is talent shortage. As many organizations reduce and remove talent in order to lower the cost of operations, locate and relocate operations around the world to obtain lower wages for equally competent talent elsewhere in the world. The hazards are emphasized on individual performance at the expense of teamwork and gives rise to a system that can create disharmony between employees who need to work collaboratively. Second is the celebration of individual brilliance can lead to an elitist attitude marked by arrogance and a poor learning attitude. Third is to rely heavily on monetary incentives to attract and retain these talents. Make this approach non-strategic as it can be easily copied. Other companies can offer more money and lure away these stars. Fourth, being labeled as A, B, or C identifies the way in which hierarchy of players can have a damaging effect on the performance of C employees, leading to a negative self-fulfilling thought. Lastly is the past performances can bias a supervisor's judgment of current performance and future potential. Talent management created an over-reliance on the quality of strategic thought of a narrow set of senior managers. The cognitive limitations of strategic actors means they are only of value if the talent system can also influence whatever insights human capital, as a collective, have through knowledge transfer. Individual elite talents are only useful if they are inserted in a broader capability systems. For example, they see talent management as one mechanism for building and distributing broader capability around the organization. Talent, therefore, must be defined in the broader sense to include human capital, social capital, reputational capital, and business model capital. To prove talent adds value, an organization needs to show the informating of work has changed the potential value of talent and increased the level of power. Elite managers generate sustainable value for an organization in an excessive manner, and only through prioritization of limited investment resources can this value be released. Elite human capital is the true locus of organizational effectiveness capital, rather than more systemic sources of organizational performance. In an HRM context, value refers to the potential of the human capital at hand to contribute to its organization core competence and enhance its competitive advantage. Talent resources are strategic assets that have the potential to create and capture value and execute business strategies. Organizations must have in place talent management strategies, systems, and practices that identify, develop, and retain talent resources. Sustained competitive advantage is only realized when a firm succeeds in organizing in internal processes, policies, and procedures to exploit the potential of its valuable, rare, and unique resources. I have applied to Sky TV for work experience before, which is based on a future talent scheme. I was the only one who was being selected for the movie production team, which is also my first priority. I think I'm not an elitist, but I have shown my passion enough and capability for the job. I was being selected as a talent as I showed that I am willing to learn and I'm really keen on movie, but not because of how much knowledge I have for movie production. So everyone can actually be selected as talent if they have passion and can demonstrate this to the company. This might be highly valued when I apply for Sky TV or other companies in the future, and they think that I got the skills for production. However, this could be a bias for supervisors, as I actually didn't have enough practical skills for work, but I was hired because of my ambitions. When managers expected me to do more, I may disappoint the team or manager. It is important for Sky to add value by teaching me more skills and give me more opportunities so to gain knowledge. This is also how to make talent management more sustainable. Keeping a talent need not rely on monetary incentives, but treat them as human capabilities and let them gain more from the company.
Tansley and Tietze in the following study examine an accountancy firm which employs a certain philosophy and investigate mechanisms to which talent is approached and managed. However, this does not come without particular issues. The firm operates an enterprise-wide talent management program. The main drivers of this program are to address the demand from the firm's clients for consultants with the right skills. Also, a key driver for the program is to address development requirements of all staff. In terms of employment culture, it coexists with the talent management program. In this culture, the senior management had constructed an elitist corporate identity. Once consultants are recruited into the organisation, they are trained to act and behave for the interests of the firm and desire to present a professional image of the firm. So how is talent identified in the firm? Talent is identified through an ideology of inclusivity, which means that there is a general belief that everyone is talented. However, some individuals in the firm are defined as exclusively talented, in a sense that specific people, particularly future leaders, are viewed as being even more talented. This notion is supported by the firm's talent development director. He will argue that both everyone in the firm accepts that everybody is talented, and there is a belief for the need to identify future talented individuals to become leaders. A particular issue is raised from this. If everyone in the firm is considered as talented, then how are key talented individuals picked out? In addition to this, how would a talented individual differentiate themselves and attempt to stand out from the crowd if there is an elitist culture? Does it pose problems regarding individual talent? In order to address the challenge of finding the most talented individuals in the organisation, the firm developed a staged talent advancement system to manage talent from recruitment to the most senior stages in a controlled manner through a talent pool approach. This entails an intense period of training, work assignments and examinations. Candidates progress from rising talent to corporate next generation leaders. What this talent advancement system does is plan for the future by finding and selecting the right people to become future leaders who are considered to be extremely talented. Talent management systems, such as the one employed by the firm, are to forge the ideal talented individual. However, this view is contested. Ultimate Software, a successful technology company, has a unique philosophy as reflected by the company's CEO. He argues that talent management systems should put employees, not employers, first. It could be argued here that talent management systems are not only aimed at creating future managers, but they are internalised, in the sense that they are designed by other managers within the company to shape and mould particular ideologies, ideas and values into those individuals who are progressing through the talent management process. Furthermore, this brings into question the role of identity in talent management. To what extent does individual identity affect the role of talent? Fortune magazine puts forward an interesting article about mothers with careers in competitive organisations. The article explains how there is a negative culture towards women with children in particularly competitive, high-end businesses. For example, managers question the personal commitment of mothers to the organisation and postulate the drawbacks of mothers with responsibilities outside of the organisation. What makes this article interesting is that the identity and attitudes of the woman involved in writing the piece change after she becomes pregnant with her own child. Consequently, she explains, "I'm sorry to all the mothers I used to work with." Furthermore, she reinforces the point that younger managers affect their future identities by implementing decisions and certain ideas that potentially damage their future identity. In this sense, people can hurt their future selves. In regards to talent, what this article enforces is that external factors, such as childcare, can have not only an effect on personal identity, but one could argue that those at the highest end of the talent spectrum are just as much influenced by external factors as those at the lowest end of the talent spectrum. The article further argues how talent can be influenced by identity. By adopting the right sort of identity, talent can be maintained and present. This is reflected in the article how particular prejudices can affect careers. Tansley and Tietze support this notion by arguing that identity work is central, if invisible, to the achievement of career advancement and to the integration of individual talent into the overall organisation's purpose. Therefore, the maintenance of identity is a critical part in maintaining talent. Returning to the case of the accountancy firm, what individuals need to be aware of in regards to talent is their exposure to the internalised mechanisms such as that of the talent management programme. This could have adverse effects on talent. For example, those enforced with particular notions and ideologies of success may struggle to fit in with other organisations that adopt a different philosophy. From my own perspective, I believe that talent management is a difficult yet fascinating topic. As discussed by Tansley and Tietze, the process of identity work plays a large part in the operation of talent. Without the adoption of a proper identity, individuals may encounter personal struggles as described in the "I'm sorry to all the mothers I used to work with" case. From personal experience in working in particular service-based jobs, I have felt the need to manage my own identity as a means of performing my job to the best standards possible. In most organisations I have worked in, there is undoubtedly a degree of inclusivity within the culture. Everyone is treated as being talented. However, I feel organisational structures such as hierarchies contest this view of inclusivity.
Throughout this presentation, we have considered the theme of talent management. Through providing definitions of talent management, where the corporate HR function has evolved through several stages, including the personnel department, strategic HR, and finally the new and emerging talent management discourse. There has been a shift in the way in which individuals have now become a strategic asset to top corporations, rather than just a resource, due to the fact that talent management is now the very solution to the challenging task of attracting, developing, and retaining the most valuable top talents. In relation to career transitions and identity work, talent management addresses the necessity and importance of employees moving regularly among different situations. This diverse and active participation will add value to employees' capacity and potential. Organisational talents that demonstrate competitiveness, competency and potential advance progressively along the leadership pipeline, during which identity work plays a crucial role. It is clear that despite increasing levels of interest in talent and its subsequent management, there is still yet to be an accepted definition. However, the expanding scope that talent management is taking globally is one which is undeniably bound to offer such definitions. Cooey and Tham define career transitions as changes that require employees to transform the old way of perceiving and interpreting themselves and related business contexts, in order to develop new priorities, learn new skills, behaviours and patterns of interpersonal reactions so that they can fit into these new roles. Along the leadership pipeline, each transition represents various challenges and opportunities for individual enhancement and development. Identity work is therefore a necessary part of the rites of passage at different levels of a talent management programme, particularly for managerial and senior leadership positions, where employees are required to display appropriate identities in order and in accordance with normative assumptions of the organisation as shown by Tansley and Tietze. In regards to liminality, it is important to note that through career transitions and identity work, individuals go through various stages that shape and reshape their identity. To reflect on the content of this presentation, the 3 questions below have been included throughout the course of this video, in particular when considering individual personal experiences. But in relation to these questions as a summary, question 1, due to the ambiguous and subjective nature of talent and the talent management discourse, it is difficult to pinpoint a precise meaning to the phrase talent. However, it is clear that it is focused on the skills and attributes of individuals and the way in which these can be applied to fulfill an organisation's demands. Speaking of which, question 2, it is as equally important to align organisational and individual objectives so that both have the capacity to meet their true potential and be realised in society. In relation to question 3, given that identity work plays a major part in an individual's transition along the talent management programme, organisational talents who aspire and manage to advance all the way through the leadership pipeline not only accomplish self-realisation, but also contribute to corporate sustainability and prosperity. Thus, in short, all do have the ability to be talent, but what this talent actually is remains the key point to consider. Here, please find a list of references that we have used throughout this presentation. Thank you for listening.